Hello, this is the luckiest maths teacher in the world. Thank you so much for tuning into this video in which we will go through equations with fractions. So all of these will be equations that we need to solve, but they will involve fractional answers. So what we want to do when we solve an equation is we undo what's been done to x, or whatever the pronumeral is, in opposite order to BIDMAS. So let's look at this question here. 10 minus 6x equals 2. So we've got to undo what's been done to x. So x was times by minus 6, then 10 was added. So what we're going to do is subtract 10 from both sides. So that gives us minus 6x, 2 minus 10 is minus 8. So now we need to divide each side by minus 6. The way I undo timesing minus 6 is divide by minus 6. So then what we end up with is x is 8 over 6, which simplifies to 4 over 3. People seem to think that when you're solving an equation like this, the answer has to be a whole number. No, it doesn't. Here, x equals 4 over 3 is the solution. So let's do this one here. We're going to undo what's been done to x. So x was times by 3, then 5 was added, then we divided 8, then we subtracted 1. So the first thing I'm going to do to both sides, I'm going to undo subtracting 1 by adding 1. So then I'm going to be left with 3x plus 5 over 8 is equal to 2. So now I'm going to multiply each side by 8, undo dividing by 8. Then I'm going to subtract 5 from both sides, and I'm going to divide by 3. So 11 divided by 3 is just 11 over 3, or if you like, it's 3 2/3. So let's look at this last one here. It's got a fraction on the right-hand side, but we're not going to do it any differently. We're going to undo what's been done to x in the opposite order to BIDMAS. So we timesed x by 2, then we added a quarter to get 5/6. So we're going to undo adding a quarter by subtracting a quarter. So 5/6 minus a quarter. Remember, the two fractions have to have the same denominator. So 5/6 is 10 over 12. 1/4 is 3 over 12. So 5/6 minus a quarter is actually 7 over 12. So what we get is 2x equals 7 over 12. Now we divide each side by 2. We get 7 over 24. Remember, dividing by 2 is the same as timesing a half. So here we have x equals 7 over 24. All these answers were fractions. Yes, sometimes the answer to equations is not a whole number. All right, let's now look at what we do when we're solving equations and the pronumerals on both sides. So when the pronumeral is on both sides of the equation, you subtract the one with the lowest number in front of. So let's look at this equation here. Now, what I mean by pronumeral on both sides, the x is on both sides of the equation. We really only know how to solve equations when x is in one spot. So our goal here is to get x to one spot. We do that by subtracting from both sides the pronumeral with the lowest coefficient. So this x has a 5, its coefficient is 5. This x, its coefficient is 11. 5 is clearly smaller, so what we're going to do is we're going to subtract 5x from both sides. Remember, what you do to one side, you must do to the other. Of course, 5x minus 5x is just 0. So what I'm left with is 8 equals 11 minus 5 is 6x minus 4. So then what I'm going to do is add 4 to both sides. And now I'm going to divide by 6. I get x equals 2. So make sure when you're writing your solution, you always write x equals the number. So x equals 2 is the solution here. So how would we do this one here? Well, here we have an x. Its coefficient isn't written, which means its coefficient is 1. The coefficient of this x is not 3, it's negative 3. Negative 3 is smaller than 1, so we're going to subtract negative 3x from both sides. But remember, two minuses together make a plus. What we're actually going to do to this side and this side is add 3x. Why are we doing this? Well, if I add 3x, it will be gone from the left-hand side of the equation. I will only have x's on the right-hand side. I will get 7 equals 11, and x plus 3x is 4x. Now remember, you can only add or subtract like terms. just like I did up here, 11x minus 5x. So you can't add 3x to 11. These are not like terms. These are like terms. That's why I can add x and 3x to get 4x. So now you see that x is in only one spot of the equation, so I can just solve like normal. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to subtract 11 from both sides, and then I'm going to divide each side by 4. I get x is minus 1. Then I'm done. So reason we're going through this, we're now going to look at equations where the pronumerals on both sides and there are fractions on both sides. So we're going to look at solving this equation here and this equation here. So if you have fractions on both sides, before I do the step in the previous slide, I need to get rid of the fractions. Then I'm going to subtract the x with the lowest coefficient. So how am I going to do this? Well, what I can do is I can times top and bottom by 4 and top and bottom here by 5. I can make these two fractions have the same denominator. So on the left-hand side, I get 4 lots. I'm timesing 4 by the whole thing, and I get 20 on the bottom. On the right-hand side, I've got 5 lots of x plus 5. I'm timesing 5 by the whole thing, and I've got 20 on the bottom. So since both denominators are 20, that means the numerators must be equal. That means I have this. So to solve this equation here, I'm going to expand the brackets. 4 times 2x, 4 times 1, 5 times x, 5 times 5. So now I'm going to subtract the x with the lowest number in front of, which happens to be 5x. So then I get 3x plus 4 equals 25. I'm going to subtract 4. 3x equals 21, and divide by 3, I get x equals 7. So that is the solution to this equation. So what you can see is I kind of could skip this step here. All I needed to do was multiply this by the denominator of the other fraction, this by the denominator of the other fraction. That's what I mean by cross multiplying. So to solve this equation here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply the numerator of this fraction by the denominator of that one. So I'm going to get 7 lots of 3x minus 8 is equal to 4 lots of x plus 20. So then I'm going to expand the bracket. 7 times 3x, 7 times negative 8, 4 times x, 4 times 20. So now I've got 21x and 4x. I'm going to subtract 4x from both sides of the equation. So if I subtract 4x from 21x, I'm left with 17x. So 17x minus 56 equals 80. So now I add 56 to both sides. I get 17x is 136. So x is 136 divided 17, which is 8. So the solution here is 8. So if you have fractions on both sides of the equation, your first step is to get rid of the fractions, and you can do it this way, the long way, or the quick way by cross multiplying. Multiplying numerator on one side by the denominator on the other side. Numerator on one side by denominator on the other side. After you've got rid of the fractions, you then get x to one spot by subtracting the x with the lowest coefficient, just like we did on a previous slide. All right, thank you so much for tuning into this video. This has been the luckiest maths teacher in the world. Have a great day.